All right, man. So the militia, where's the line in the sand, right? That's the question. I've asked it before a lot myself. We just dealt with it a little bit in a video a little while ago from a different direction. Where's the line? Where does the militia stand up? When does the militia say no more? I've just had an epiphany here just recently. I realized that's the wrong question. The question of where's the line in the sand to stand up. What guys mean when they ask that question is where's the line in the sand to start slinging lead? That's a false question. The line in the sand should be when we start resistance. The decision on when to start slinging lead is a tactical decision that would be made in the moment, predicated by the situation on the ground at the time. All right, terrible things could be going on, and it might not be a real good time to start slinging lead. Suicide is a sin. I'm not sure about that. I'd be honest with you. I only define sin as what the Bible actually says, and the Bible doesn't actually say suicide's a sin. Suicide's a real bad idea. A wise man doesn't commit suicide, right? I'm willing to take big risks for big causes, but there needs to be a risk. A risk is there's a chance of success. Doesn't have to be a huge chance of success, but there needs to be some chance of success. You don't risk everything you are and everything you own in your home and your family and everything you've worked for to make a statement. I shouldn't say that. Sometimes you do, but that's for really big things, like your eternal salvation type stuff. The question is not when do we start slinging lead. The question is when do we start resisting, and then what's the appropriate level of resistance for the moment. I say, and most of you would probably agree with me, we're way past the line for resistance. I was trying to think earlier when mine might be, when they may have crossed that line of resistance. I can certainly say for me personally, definitely abortion would have been a line where I would say that it is okay for men of good faith and conscience to resist our federal government. We could go back probably as far as Woodrow Wilson, and I would say, some of the things he did and instituted with the League of Nations and federalizing the National Guard and changing the Army and everything around to be so unconstitutional. That should have been probably a line where we could have begun resisting. A lot of those things were set up by some of those amendments that came out of the Civil War, not the freeing of the slaves, not the expansion of the vote, universal male suffrage. Although I'm not a big fan of universal male suffrage, but not along racial lines. My point is, I don't remember I don't remember the clause it was that usually gets us so wrapped around the axle that all the bad things came out of. But I'm not talking about freeing the slaves. All right, that was a good thing. Racism is a sin. All right, back to reality. My point is, if you're watching this video, most likely your line for resistance was breached a long time ago, probably before you were born, or if it wasn't, it should have been. If we should have learned anything from the left before now, is they've got all sorts of levels of resistance. They're all the time resisting. They call themselves the resistance. Here we are, the right-thinking men on the right and the women who stand by us, and we're all sort of hunkered down waiting for the lead to start flying, and we're not doing anything to change things before that happens. Clausewitz, Baron von Clausewitz, I don't remember his first name, wrote a book on warfare or tactics, can't remember what he said, or what it was called, and I don't remember this exact quote, so I probably shouldn't be using it. But he said something along the lines that war is just diplomacy by another means, or diplomacy is war by another means. We're ignoring most of the tools in our kit, most of the weapons available to us. We're not utilizing. We're waiting. I don't know, to see the whites of their eyes. I don't know what we're waiting for, but this is a false question. Where's the line in the sand? It almost doesn't matter where the line in the sand is. That line's been crossed. We're past that line. The question becomes, how do we start resisting now? Because everyone's plan at the moment seems to be to sort of just sit and wait till they come for us one by one, and then to get angry at all the other men around us for not resisting. We're all waiting for the guy on the other side of us to stand up, and the guy on the other side of us waiting for us to stand up, and no one's standing up. My point is, we can stand up, and it doesn't have to mean lead is flying right that moment. Okay? There's got to be a step between here and fire. It's not. We don't go from at ease to to final protective fire, you know? Unload, unload, unload! There's got to be a step between here and there. I'm not saying I necessarily know where it is. I will say this, and some of you guys are going to get angry at me. Voting is one of them. Right? If you're not voting, I know a lot of you guys tell me, I hear you in the comments, voting is a waste of time, it's rigged, my vote doesn't mean anything. You know what? Even if you're right and the vote is completely rigged, and I believe wholeheartedly the vote is rigged in certain ways in certain places. They don't have to rig the whole vote. They've got Chicago and Philadelphia where they can swing Illinois and Pennsylvania, and I believe they did it in Alabama this last time to get that Senate seat. They do rig the vote. The problem is when you vote, it makes it harder for them to rig it. It makes it more obvious that they're rigging it when you vote. You know, what they were able to say in that Alabama Senate race was, oh, there was huge Democratic turnout and suppressed Republican turnout. Well, you know what? They're right about one half of that equation. There was suppressed Republican turnout because everyone thought it was a cakewalk. Everyone thought Roy Moore was going to win. There's no real need for me to go to the polls. And they were able to rig a certain few counties down there just enough to swing that vote. All right? And you know what? If a couple more guys had gone to vote, that might not have been possible. It makes it harder for them to rig the vote when you vote. So step one, you got to vote. Please don't tell them, I want to be your guys' friends. I'm a people pleaser. I like it when people like me and everyone's happy and we're having a good time. But I'm going to get in your face just a little bit here on this one issue. You got to vote. You got to vote, especially these coming up midterms. We got to figure out a way to starve them of their money. That's something else we got to do. This video has probably gone too long already. I don't know what the levels of resistance are. We got to talk about it. We've got this whole new topic we can go. We might even break it out of the Militia series and make it its own topic if we can find enough things to talk about. But there's got to be levels of resistance between where we're at and where we're all afraid to go, because you'd be a fool if you weren't afraid to go there. You would. I can't remember where I read. It's probably been said by every man who's ever been in combat, but you know, a man who's not afraid in combat is an idiot. You know, that's not something to be ashamed of. If you don't fear death, if you don't fear being maimed, if you don't fear pain, that's not natural. You got to overcome that fear. You got to push through it. But if you don't fear it, you're a moron. You're not a hero. So there you go. The question is not where's the line. The line's way behind us. The question is, no, that's not even a question. The thing we have to realize is there's steps between here and what we're all focused on. Now, we've got to stay focused on lead slinging. We've got to be prepared for lead slinging. We've got to train for the lead slinging. We've got to organize for the lead slinging. But, you know, if we do that, if we do actually prepare for the lead slinging, if we organize for the lead slinging, if we do the steps in between here and there, highly unlikely we'll ever have to get to the lead slinging. We live in a nation of weaklings. You know what? If we had just a quarter of the strength of our forefathers, we could change the direction of this nation in the course of just a couple of years. So there you go, man. I appreciate your time. Y'all have a good one.